Hello, and welcome to Honor Talk. This is the podcast where we explore the legacy left behind in the wake of organ, eye, and tissue donation. I'm your host, Bobby Gomez. Just a quick note, the views and the stories that are shared here are my own. They do not represent any specific organ procurement organization. Thanks for pressing play today. Now let's get started.
Today on Honor Talk, I'm honored to welcome someone whose entire career has been rooted in service, compassion, and saving lives. Our guest, Terrence began his journey in healthcare as an EMT, on an ambulance, responding to emergencies and caring for people in their most vulnerable moments. He later advanced his skills as a respiratory therapist, supporting patients through critical and life-threatening conditions. Terrence now serves as a clinical procurement transplant coordinator, where he facilitates the organ donation process and stands alongside donor families, medical teams, and transplant professionals to help bring the gift of life to those waiting for a second chance. He's also the founder of Badgers Healthcare, an organization dedicated to educating healthcare workers and the general public about the world of organ, eye, and tissue donation, shining a light on what really happens behind the scenes. And in addition to all of that, Terrence is the author of What is Behind the Yes to Donation, available now on Amazon. A powerful look into the stories, emotions, and decisions that shape the donation process. All right, let's get into it.
First of all, welcome to Honor Talk. You know, where I wanted to start off really and talk about, I read your book. Congratulations. That's awesome. And we'll get to it for sure. And I want you to be able to dive in, but I want you to let the listeners know really who you are, maybe just a little bit about your background and what drove you to this work.
Absolutely. So thank you so much for having me. Like I said, I've listened to your episodes as well and thought it would be a great fit as well. So just a little bit about me. I'm currently founder, CEO of Badgers Healthcare. And what really pulled us to this realm, if you will, is so much of the misinformation is what really pulled us into this space that we're at right now. And our mission is about just bridging the gaps in organ donation. And we want to bridge that gap in organ donation education because so many people don't know and there's so much misinformation. Currently, what we do here, and I'll go back to the beginning as well, but currently what we do, we empower the community and just have them understand what it is to say yes to donation or what it is just to have that conversation in regards to donation, because so many people don't even have the conversation. We provide specialized training to the healthcare staff. We provide specialized training to OPOs, everyone that we can talk to. And so what really got us into this before we got with the respiratory therapist, I was an EMT and I was on the truck for 5 years. And so being on the truck, you never ask anybody any questions about donation. The job is get you to the hospital. Don't die on my truck.
Hey, hey, man, right? So I come from the same background. So people outside that are listening, right? So those that are listening right now, this was not pre-scripted. All right, this gentleman just said he was an EMT for 5 years on a truck. Did you ever, and this is, I'm going out on a limb here. In 5 years, did you ever pull anybody's wallet and look for a donor sticker?
Not one time.
Did you ever hear of anybody pulling a wallet and looking for a donor sticker?
I never even looked for a wallet.
Thank you. You know,
never.
I did that job I was a paramedic for years. And I know a lot of our listeners out there are, they're colleagues of mine and friends, and it's kind of stretched far and beyond in that EMS world. And we're going to do an episode that surrounds EMS providers and workers. Awesome. There's a lot of misconception about, well, if I sign up, they're going to see the dot and they ain't going to save me. Man, we ain't looking for no dot.
Man, that's the furthest from the truth, man.
We ain't looking for no dot. You're crazy. But I don't even know where that comes from, where people are like, oh, don't sign up. Yeah, right. It's fear.
Even when we did the calls for like the nursing home calls, you just go into the nursing home, somebody's in, going into a diabetic coma situation. And it's like, man, let's give them what we can give them and get them to the hospital, because it's like, man, we just crazy. We just say, man, you're not getting your Jesus sandals today. Like, you're not getting them on my truck. Like, it's too much paperwork to allow you to pass away here. Like, no, that was one of the things. So like say EMT, then became an RT, and then became a transplant coordinator, and then CPTC thereafter, once I got licensed and such. But I've always wanted to go into healthcare. Healthcare was my thing. And it's always been about education. I have my grandmother, my dad's mom, she passed away several years ago in 2008 from kidney disease. Oh. And she refused to go on dialysis. My mom's currently doing dialysis 3 days a week. And a lot of misinformation with her, a lot of misinformation with my grandma. My grandma thought that if I go on dialysis, I'm gonna die, because her brother and sister end up passing away while on dialysis. And my mom even believed, oh, if I get a kidney, then something else gonna go bad. You
Yeah.
know, and so I just had to educate her and just let her say, hey, you already have comorbidities that's going on. So
Mm.
just because you got a kidney and then you die from something else, it don't mean that it's because you got the kidney there's the reason why you passed away. It's like it's other things that's going on in the midst of. So the misinformation
Yeah.
is how we got into healthcare, how we got into everything, man.
The misinformation that you hear out there is almost more validated than some of the folklore that's out there. Like I hear the misinformation, like obviously, okay, I'm gonna say like a vapor rub, and within like communities and like cultural circles, vapor rub is like God. Like it cures everything, right? It cures everything. Put it on your feet.
Right.
I've heard it all. Like it goes across all, but not every single culture, not every single race does that one go. But you say
Right.
donation in a circle, oh, it crosses barriers.
Hmm.
It doesn't matter color, culture, race.
Not one bit.
Not one bit. It goes from coast to coast. And you hear the same one, and I'm like, "Man, it flies." And the misinformation, it's inaccurately accurate. It goes across.
Absolutely.
I'm like, "Man, you heard the same stuff." The game of telephone ain't got nothing on that kind of misinformation.
And I think the biggest reason how it goes across is I think the fear of it is what fuels it.
Mhm.
If I can put the fear in this one person, it's kind of like what my grandparents used to say, people are going to go to heaven because they're hell scared. It was like, man, I've never understood. I was like, what do you mean by that? It was like,
Oh,
you will believe because
man, I like that.
yeah, because you're hell scared. You're so scared of hell that you're like, okay, I'm gonna try to do right. I'm gonna try to do because I want to go to heaven. I don't want to go there. So it's like, do you really believe? You know, and the other thing is like, I believe more in hell. You know what I mean? And I'm scared to go there, so I'm gonna try not to steal. I'll try to do better. I'm gonna try to do all the right stuff that I can do. And so that's what happens too with this fear. It feeds it. It goes as fast as one nation to another nation. It's wild, man. But it hasn't changed, and that's the sad part. It's not all set on one, but
No.
that's what the fear, as we were talking about, that it's across generations, it's across countries, it's across everything, state lines.
It breaks barriers for sure. I mean, I've talked to families and had people validate, like in the same room that were across. I can remember specifically a Russian woman talking to her family, and she said, I just don't know about organ donation and this and that. And I was in a waiting room, and they had brought it up, and so it was kind of a really fast situation. And so she said, I just don't know about organ donation. And she was sitting next to a black family that was there, and they said they just want his organs. And she said, I've heard the same. And I'm like, y'all don't even know each other. Like, you guys not even the same family, not like, don't even I'm like, "Wow, that's
Yeah,
what you guys bonded on?"
I mean, it's and it's scary. It's funny because, you're in the field and you kind of see these things and you're constantly breaking myths. It's literally a episode of Mythbusters, almost every day you go to work. And it's not even just with people who are like, oh, well, this is for the low country, you know what I mean? These people don't know, or it's with the layman, or it's like, no, these are sometimes highly educated and decorated people who
Yeah,
just don't know. Sometimes it sounds harsh when you say, "Man, you're miseducated," or "We have to educate you," because sometimes that word for a person who has multiple degrees sounds hard. It's like, "What do you mean you're gonna educate me?" It's like, well, what other term can I put there? Let me just inform you, because you're misinformed. And so that's why a lot of times we use the term misinformed because you got some information, it's just not the right information.
yeah, it's not all there. It's not only is it not all there, the stuff that you do have is inaccurate, completely.
Exactly.
Man. Well, can you walk us through what is Badger's Healthcare? What if you had to give an elevator pitch to somebody, what's your elevator
Mhm.
pitch? People ask you, because the next one I'm ask you, which is even harder,
Mhm.
is an elevator pitch for what it is that you do.
Got it. Got it. So the elevator pitch for Badgers Healthcare, it is literally starts off with, good morning. My name is Terrence Brock, founder and CEO of Badgers Healthcare Service Incorporated. And our mission is all about bridging the gaps in organ donation. We empower the communities to understand the importance of saying yes to organ donation and to provide a specialized training to healthcare professionals. We don't just focus on communities themselves as far as your schools, your teachers, your librarians, things like that. So we talk to your healthcare professionals as well. And I'm interested in making donation happen, and let's see if we can make an impact. That would be the elevator pitch.
Okay, I like that. Now, the more difficult one that I think everybody in our role, really working in donation. But when somebody asks you, "What is it you do for a living?" How do you answer that question? Because that's not an easy one to answer.
So
At least for me, it's not.
I get it often because it's almost like a unicorn because no one really knows about it. So what I do and what I say depends on if I want to feel bigger than what I am. Or if I want to feel smaller, I'd be like, hey man, I'm a transplant coordinator. And they're like, oh, we do. I just help organs go from people who can no longer use them into someone and help them save a life. That's the simplest way I can put it. And people are like, oh, okay, I heard about that. It was like it's kind of like organ harvesting. And so I was like, now it's time to have another conversation because
Yeah.
now we're misinformed.
Yep. You know, there's two words in the OPO world, right? Organ procurement world. There's two words that every time somebody says them, the hair on the back of your neck stands up a little bit.
Brother, yes, it does.
One of them is harvesting, right? We don't harvest people, we harvest corn, number one.
Exactly.
Number two is vulture.
Hmm.
I talked to a family not that long ago, and she just kept excusing herself because she said, I had an idea about the vultures coming. And I said,
Well, not the vultures coming.
vultures coming. She said, I know I shouldn't say that. And that's how I felt at the time. But now she's moved forward and she's been through the process. She said, I know that's a bad word, but I wanted to give you the feeling of how I felt. And I thought, man,
Right, right. It's still to this day, even when if it's a physician, I don't care if there's a lawyer and they use the terminology of harvesting, I say the word procurement. And I say the procurement probably about 3 or 4 more times after that. And before we end that conversation, they are using the word procurement. And I was like, because that's not what we do. We don't harvest anything. I was like, this isn't vegetables, it's not crops, we're not doing that. And so, but it's always in a polite way, of course. And back to the technical elevator pitch portion of it when I want to make it seem way bigger than what it is. I'm a certified procurement transplant coordinator and I travel the country doing this. And they're like, we're doing it. What is it? And so then you go in and let them know. I work with multiple different teams across the country. We fly them in, they come in, they assess the organs, and then they decide on if they can help save someone else's life. So, and based off of that, and they're like, oh my God, this guy's fancy. It's like, yeah, it's
you are
pretty
fancy.
dope.
I work with yeah, I know. I know. I mean, I'm gonna tell the people at home like it is. I've worked shoulder to shoulder with Terrence before in the hospital, and this man knows what he's talking about. He knows what he's doing, and he understands what it is to be there. He understands what it is to stand by a family who's going through the grief and be able to facilitate donation on a level that is just above and beyond. And so he understands what it is to both be there for a family and the clinical regard to make sure that these organs are optimized to reach the people that they need to reach. I mean, you do good work. And so I definitely want to highlight that. What do you think is the biggest misconception that's out there about organ donation that probably we hear over and over that maybe jade people from even wanting to be an organ donor?
That everyone is just stealing organs. That's the biggest misconception that we are out there, we personally, you, myself, that we're getting paid somehow from this. And not the fact that it's a job, it's a career, but the fact that once you take this person organ that you didn't stole them, now they're going on the black market and you're going to get so many thousands of dollars from this. And you guys don't care about us. You guys don't care about my family member. And one of the biggest things and misconceptions on that is I am literally a person who cares about the family. I am right down the middle. I am pro family. I am also pro donation. So I'm the guy that's 50-50. I want you to say yes to donation, but if you say no, I understand. If you can tell me why you're saying no. If you're telling me you're saying no, if you say I don't believe in organ donation. I would never accept an organ from somebody. I don't want nothing to do with it at all. My family don't want nothing to do with it, and I don't, whatever. If you have a full spiel and you don't believe, I totally understand. And you said you wouldn't accept one. I get it. But if you willing to accept the organ, come on now.
Yeah.
So, that's one of the things, like, come on, bro. If you're willing to accept it, you got to agree with organ donation, because how would you accept it? So
And it has
the
to
thing,
make sense. It has to make sense. And I'm gonna tag on to something that you said because I fully agree with this. We don't ask a family member for clarity because we need justification. We need a family member to tell us no and like their reason for no. It's not for justification. I'm gonna say that again. It's not for justification. The reason we're asking is because there's so many misconceptions with organ donation. And I'll give you a couple of examples. I've had a family member say, no, I don't want organ donation because he wanted to have an open casket. Well, guess what? Those two things can actually both happen. So I don't want organ donation because the church doesn't agree with it. Most major religions do agree with it. Now, maybe people in your congregation tell you otherwise, but most major religions, so people will stand behind a veil of religion and say, my religion doesn't support that, so I don't want to do it. well, which religion is it? And now you're questioning them because you just want to make them informed. It's not, I'm not trying to talk you into anything, but
Correct.
I want you to make a decision based on facts, not fear.
Correct. And that's the biggest, that right there is a tagline. Based off of facts, not fear. Facts, not fear. Yes, sir. So true, man. So and it's scary that it's so much fear out there. And like I say, for me being a person who's right down the middle with it and totally understands 50-50, I want everyone to say yes to donation. I want you guys to save lives, and I'm all about saving lives. And I'm in this field because I'm about saving lives and educating the families and educating the staff. But it's I also understand when some people do say no, and it's the sad thing is that there's so many people that we're going to get those yeses, but we have so many people that are passing away every day because some people are saying no to because of the misinformation, because of the fear. So to be
Yeah.
able to correct those things, man, how they say corrective action, if
Mhm.
we can fix that, I mean, I think that list of over 100,000 people who need an organ could easily go down easily.
Yeah. And I won't get into divisive topics, but right now there's a lot of stuff in the media. Social media is a huge one. I mean, there's so many different outlets for different information streams. But one of the tactics that people use in an effort to gain likes or to gain views is to put out a divisive topic because nothing will
Correct.
bring somebody to a comment section faster than to have an opposing view or a like view. And then you
Hmm.
put both of those in a melting pot, which is the comment section, and you light it up.
Mm.
And what has shown up recently is all these different misconceptions that are now, supposedly they're being justified. Like, oh, we have proof now. No, you have AI now. So what ends up happening is you get people that will put up these divisive topics, and then they sit back and grab their popcorn and just watch the comment section roll. Meanwhile, they're making money on it and they don't care because I've been drawn to the comment section one or two times. Not my place. The people that are in the comment section, typically, they're in the comment section putting fuel on the fire of these misconceptions. They're not looking for this podcast. They're not looking for the truth. They're happy just getting their information from TikTok or Instagram and the reels, and they keep on moving. And now it's
They're just there to stir the pot. That's it, man.
yeah.
It's this between the internet, the AI, the all the things that are coming. It's like when the debit card came, everybody was fearful, nervous, and then next thing you know, you started getting people figuring out, how can I scam on this? How can I make this seem like the worst thing in the world? And so then it just progressively, and it's like, oh, technology changed, so then you got to deal with this, and this comes with the technology. And so that's what we're dealing with now is like not only are we dealing with the word of mouth, now we have people who can formulate a video to go with the bad word of mouth that was said. And so, and a lot of people can't differentiate between what's true and what's not true. It's a sticky situation, and it puts families in an uncomfortable situation and makes the work even harder for people who are trying to save someone's life. It's one of the biggest things, man, that I tell people when I'm at work, and it's I'm here for you all. I'm here for you. I'm here to advocate for you and your family. And that's the family of the person who's preparing to pass away or have already passed away. It's like I'm an advocate for you guys. And I want to let you know that we're doing everything we can and we're with this person. I always let them know from the moment of the referral until the body goes in a shroud and placed into the morgue. We are with your family. Your family is never by themselves.
Yeah.
Someone is always here. And just that respect and that honor to try and combat all the false information that's out there.
Yeah. So you just touched on something too. I mean, you're actively working toward preparing this person or this loved one for donation. And you can go back to episode one and, for those that are listening and when I start using some of this vernacular, but whether they're going to be for DCD or donation after cardiac death or if they're a brain dead donor, if you're going and you're helping this donor and you're optimizing organ donation, but we still have the family who's actively in the room grieving and they're kind of dealing with their own emotions and their own feelings and trying to, how do you balance that? What does that balance look like?
It For me to tell you that it's easy would be for me to tell you a lie. And that's just being as open and candid as possible. But it is a balancing act that is learned over time. And I've been in healthcare for nearly 20 years and I've been in donation for nearly a decade. And so it comes with time. It comes with understanding that it's bigger than you. It's bigger than you walking on the unit and saying, you guys need to listen to me because I'm the only one here who knows what's going on. It's bigger than knowing that well, there's one chair in here, but it's 5 family members. Like, can we get another chair? Can I advocate for them to get another chair? Can I advocate for the fact of have you had a snack? It's everything is understanding that the situation is grand. It's a huge situation. These people are probably navigating something that they've never done before. And as a certified procurement transplant coordinator, you're expected to go there and be able to help them navigate those waters. And so what it looks like is reading the room, looking to see who needs help, who doesn't need help, looking to see, is this patient ID band cutting into their arm because they're a little too swollen for whatever reason, and knowing that family's looking at that and they're wondering what's going on, what is that? Or them even wanting to know, why is this number so high? What's this red number? What's this blue number? So just providing that constant information to them, because why is it beeping? Something's beeping. What's beeping? And it's like, oh, that's just the heater for the ventilator that heats the water that go, for the moisture of your vent. But
They
to
don't know.
them, it's another alarm,
Yeah, just
another
some.
alarm going on. So that's what it looks like. It looks like constantly providing that information and just letting them know it's okay. It's okay right now. What you're hearing is okay, and let them know it's okay to cry too. Like if you need to cry, it's okay, because you're navigating some water that you may have never navigated before, and we're here for you.
Yeah, it almost hurts more when you have a family who has navigated this before.
Yeah.
When you have somebody, I mean, I've had mothers, aunts, and parents, brothers, sisters who've said, "Oh yeah, we've already done this before. My brother was a donor 2 years ago or a year ago,"
Mm,
and
yeah.
that's even more painful. As much as I say, like, well, it's hard because they've never navigated this before. You almost got to be careful what you wish for, because trying to help a family navigate it twice
Right.
is even more difficult.
Yeah. And what you hope for in those moments is that when they traveled those waters before, it had a positive outcome.
100%.
Because a positive outcome makes it a whole lot better, man. It makes for when you walk into the room, they don't say the statement that you mentioned earlier. I figured the vultures were coming. They were like, I figured the donation people would be coming. I remember talking to the donation people, and that's one thing about Badgers Healthcare. We try to get in front of so many families and communities before the OPO does, when they're asking for donation or informing of a registered donor. We want it to be when the OPO comes and talk to you, whether it's 8 years, 10 years tomorrow, that you be like, hey, I talked to somebody. Someone said this before. Like I've heard not the pitch, but I heard somebody talk about donation in a positive light.
I'll take that.
And that's what Badgers Healthcare is for. We are here to just introduce that, hey, this is what donation is. And so I feel that, and we've seen positive things that come from it, working here in Texas, that they have been able to say, you know what? I remember talking to somebody and they said something about this, and it's like, give me a little more information. So now the OPO is not coming in behind the eight ball, because we both know that's tough when you come in behind the eight ball trying to fix things.
Yeah, you trying to play catch up. That's not really in the place that you want to be at. Not at all, man. Yeah, I mean, it's in looking at some of the stuff that's out there and the misnomers that are there, and trying to get people educated. What I think hurts the most for me, and like looking at this, is I'll hear from families that are saying, "Oh, well, we don't agree with donation because of what we saw on this or that or whatever social or whatever news media outlet that they found or saw." And they say, we've decided to take ourselves completely off the registry. All of our family is taking ourselves off the registry. I mean, to each person be it their own. Everyone's going to do whatever they feel they need to do. But
Mhm.
here's the thing that kills me the most. And I mean, for anybody that's removing themselves from registry, it hurts. When I see a family that looks like me or you, family of color,
Mhm.
do that, and I think, who the vast majority of that list is comprised of? Like the
Mhm.
comorbidities and families of color are much higher.
Mhm.
And that list, I mean, I don't have the actual statistic here in front of me, but I would imagine a large portion of that list is comprised of people that look like you and I. And so
Especially
when,
for kidneys. I think kidneys was about 65,000 or something like that. When I
yeah,
talked to the last group of people, I think I informed them somewhere around that number.
and you see that and you're like, wow, I mean, all you're doing is you're hurting the demographic. You're hurting. I mean, not that anybody deserves more than the other, but the chances of a likelihood of finding a kidney for somebody of color typically comes from a person of color. So it's like you're not doing any justice here by removing yourself. You're actually hurting. But to each be at their own. They're going to get their news from where they're going to get their news, and they're going to make their decisions. All we can do is things like we're doing right now, and your book, and kind of keep on going out there and trying to push the truth as best you can.
Because it's also not a matter of if, it's a matter of when. And then I write it, and I wrote it in the book to let people know you can remove yourself from the registry, as much as you like. The conversation still would take place. Just because you remove yourself doesn't mean that we know that you removed yourself. We don't know anything. So everything is a clean slate for us. So today you may feel like that here in October, but then November 15th may come and you feel totally different, or your family may feel totally different. So then when the conversation happens, you still can end up being an organ donor. But it's also such a small chance that people get to be organ donors. I think you mentioned it before. It's like 1% chance of people who actually get to do this. You know what I mean? This is a great thing that you're doing. And don't be so quick to take yourself away thinking that it's not going to happen. It still can potentially happen. What will be will be.
It's a rarity. I mean, it's definitely a rarity. And another thing that people don't understand, and I don't think that it's not when you go to the DMV and you sign up to your registered donor, or you go to Donate Life California or Donate Life, in Texas, you go to Donate
Mhm.
Life, you start signing up for the registry. When you do that, it doesn't give you everything. It's not an all inclusive. It's not. They're not going to tell you how you're feeling. They're not going to tell you how long it's going to take. They're not going to tell you what method in which you're going to die. It doesn't tell you everything. It's asking you, do you want to be a donor to try and save and heal lives in the
That's
event
it.
that you are no longer going to be on this earth? Period. Of course, it's much more clear than that. Or, it's but it doesn't say like if you die in a car accident versus if you happen to fall down some stairs versus what it
Mhm.
doesn't say any. It just says, do you want to be an organ donor? The answer is very clear, yes or no. But what's really hard for families to take is that donation takes time. Donation takes time. So the shows that are out there and all the film that's ever tried to portray organ donation, it's like, oh, they passed away, and so because they passed away, we're going to donate their organs, and then lo and behold, here comes a helicopter, and they take a heart off within 20 minutes and
Mhm.
done.
And drop it into another person who was over here, who was the
Yeah.
mayor of the city who needed it.
And I'm like, that's not, I mean, yeah, some of those aspects are true. Sometimes they leave, via flight sometimes, but that the timelines are never there. It doesn't happen that fast. Their heart has to still be beating for organ donation, not tissue and eye, but their heart still has to be
Mhm.
beating. So they have to remain on a ventilator for some period of time. But that
Mhm.
none of that stuff is said. So when a family gets into this for the first time and they're posed with this, okay, well, how about organ donation? In their head, they're thinking, okay, well, yeah, sure. 12 hours, 24 hours. What time's the OR tonight? I'm like, "Oh,
Mhm.
that's not going to happen." I mean, in some areas of the country, they can turn it around in 24 hours or a little bit less, depending on if we're only going for abdominal organs.
Right.
If you're going for thoracics and hearts and lungs, this takes time. We have to bring in recipients. We got to
Right.
cross match. We got to
Right.
make sure everyone's good, make sure there's no disease. I mean, there's a lot that goes on there. And then I'm going to pose a question to you because this is another one that we have to deal with families a lot. Let's say we're recording this here on a Sunday. So let's just say we're on a donor case now. It's Sunday
Mhm.
and we're making an idea of like, okay, we're looking at maybe a Tuesday possibly to do an
Gotcha.
organ, and something happens down the road, and now the transplant center calls Terrence and says, hey, our recipient's actually really sick and we're trying to get them in and trying to take care of some stuff for them, and we're going to need that extra day, so we're going to need Wednesday now. Well, this family is betting on Tuesday because we told them there's a possibility of Tuesday.
Mhm.
We have to do a couple things. Now we have to try and optimize that organ donation and make sure that we stay good all the way through
Mhm.
Wednesday, which just takes some
Mhm.
time. But now we have to go back in and talk to this family and tell them, hey, I know that you were hoping for Tuesday.
Mhm.
How do you broach something like that with a family? What does that look like for you?
Man, look, bro, as you was talking, I had that question in my head. I was like, I am so about to spin that back and I'm about to ask him. I, I already had it. I was like, yeah, so then while you was just talking, I was writing. I was like, just in case this question is different, I'm gonna write it. Definitely feeling the vibes, man, and connected on that. That's one of the most painful things that I I have to deal with. And it's because families hold on to what you say. And so they also hold on to if they put time constraints on you. So when you're asking for that, you're asking for a gift because they've already given you a gift by saying yes, or their family already given a gift by saying yes to donation as a first person authorized. You go in as humble as you can. You go in as apologetic as you can and let them know that you're asking for the gift of time because you have found a way to potentially save another life, but it's just going to require a little more time. And you provide understanding that they already said something and you're having to go against or go or ask for more time on what they already said. You don't over commit or say that you're going to do something. There's no bartering. There's no, well, if you do this for me, I'll give your family this. Like that stuff doesn't happen. It's literally you're asking for them to provide a little more kindness and generosity than they already gave. So sometimes that's extremely hard because you see the recipient's name, you see the recipient's age, you talk to the transplant coordinator on the other side, and you know how sick they are. You know that the surgeon's in the OR for another case and he can't get to this case, but he really want to save his other recipient too. So now that part, as I mentioned, that I have to advocate for that donor, I now have to go into this room with the same people who I was supporting and now support a recipient that I never met before and let them know, please, another day, one more day, couple more hours. Because sometimes it may just be the difference between 8 hours. It's like, just give us 8 more hours. And we try to make sure that the hospital is lined up, that there is no hiccups. And I always let the families know, what you don't see is behind me is a whole engine. And so many pieces are moving and working to get things done. You see me at the bedside, but we have people that in different departments that are doing so many different things to make it work. So that's what it looks like. And that's how I handle it and I address it.
That's beautifully put. Beautifully put. I'm going to take a quick commercial break for our sponsors. So we'll be right back with Terrence Brock.
Living Legacy Expressions, a company dedicated to helping people heal, remember, and reconnect through one simple but powerful act: writing what's on your heart. Living Legacy Expressions creates dissolving message cards, small, water-soluble cards designed for moments when words alone aren't enough. You or a loved one simply write a message to someone lost, a loved one you miss, or even to yourself as part of your own healing journey, and then let it drift into water. As the card dissolves, it symbolizes release of pain, guilt, love, or remembrance. These cards have brought comfort to people walking through grief, families honoring organ donors, those healing from addiction, and even pet owners saying goodbye to a loyal friend. They're more than cards. They're moments of grace. When given as a gift, they become a quiet way to show care, offering someone you love the space to let go, remember, and find healing in their own time. Because sometimes healing begins not with what we hold on to, but with what we're willing to release. You can learn more and explore all their designs at livinglegacyexpressions.com. That's livinglegacyexpressions.com, where you will find gifts meant to be felt, not kept.
Okay, welcome back. We are back with Terrence Brock from Badgers Healthcare. We were just going over the difficulty that it is to try and explain once we have had the opportunity. So we've gotten the gift of organ donation, and now we're trying to ask for the gift of time and trying to talk to a family and make them understand. We can't tell them, hey, we were calling the recipients and the recipients are very sick and they're ill, but we can't get into the nitty gritty and the details of, listen, the transplant surgeons are literally in the middle of an operating room trying to save somebody else because they're constantly receiving offers, constantly. It doesn't stop. And they are in the middle of it. They want to make this happen, but they're also human. You know, they can't keep on going transplant surgeon after transplant surgery after transplant surgery. There's only so many of them. So it's really hard to say, look, he just wants 4 hours of sleep, or he's just trying to fly from New York and finish that case over there, get back home to Texas, and then he's going to come out to California and do like it's a lot. You're asking a ton of them. But when the family, you can't say, well, you have to understand the other side. Like that doesn't exist. I mean, we try and be dual advocates for both the donors and the recipients, but you don't translate that in that way for the family. And I think that's a hard one to be able to do. You know, I saw a picture a long time ago and it made me think about this exact scenario, this exact situation, because this is very common that the gift of time has to be asked for. And the picture was like from the 1920s, 1930s, and it was a switchboard operator. And you see this woman and she's got her headphones on. And so it's very much like a coordinator, and she's linking all these lines and she's got this huge switchboard in front of her and she's making all these connections. And I thought, man, that's kind of like our job. We're trying to make all these connections, make sure all this stuff works. But the family is the power button. Because if they choose to turn off that switchboard, all those connections are for naught. It doesn't happen.
I think that giving them that power and respect makes a huge difference for that switchboard to keep working. The minute you come in disrespectful, the minute you come in with such a high vibration of vibrato of, no, you can't, we not doing, this is the way it's going to be, is like, hold up. We have to take a step back, because as you said, if they are the power button, you come in and once again, it's bigger. It's bigger than the person who just walked through the door. And that's what we have to understand. We're not the power button. We're here to offer a gift for someone else. You know what I mean? To keep these switches going, to keep these this light that's about to be dimmed in a sense, for this person who's preparing to pass away over here. I know your family's here and you got the power, but just think of someone else in this moment, because that's ultimately what they're doing. They're thinking of, yes, my family member is leaving, but I can help someone else. That's the ultimate gift. So yeah, give empowering them. And as I said in my spiel, the pitch, it's to empower, and it's to not empower one person, it's empower every family across the country, across the nation, across the world. Like, you guys have the power. Say yes to donation. You have the power to say yes. You have the power to say, I want to keep someone else living, because we are already fighting for your family. The hospital's already been fighting for your family. So continue that good energy. I mean, continue it.
The power of peace of mind. I hear a lot from families, what I guarantee you've been in this position where they ask you to initiate a conversation about donation with the family.
Oh, yeah.
There's a vast difference between asking about donation and trying to give them all of the positives and what that possibly could be. Like that's an entire, so now you've put another decision on their plate. So you've said, hey, there's this option, this is what it would look like. That decision or that conversation versus, did you know that your loved one is an organ donor and they've already made this decision for organ donation? That the weight you watch lifted off of their shoulders because they don't have to make this decision. And I'm not saying this because I want somebody to go out there. If somebody goes out there and signs up for this reason, great. That's not why I'm saying this. I'm saying this because it's real. This is true.
Right.
I've stood in front of families and watched their eyes when they say, I'm glad they made that decision. 100% that sounds like them. That's on brand for that person.
Mm-hmm.
But as opposed to, God, I just really don't know what they would have wanted. Or we never had that conversation. What does that even look like? And then now they're trying to make the decision based on their own personal views or what they jump straight to their phone. Okay.
Right. Mm-hmm. And you got to try to filter through that madness.
Yeah. You're trying to filter through and trying to figure out like what is it going to mean for me while you're navigating everything else? Because every family comes with their own dynamics. Every single family comes with their own dynamics. And so while you're trying to navigate now this new choice of organ donation, you have everything else to deal with. Who can come and visit? Who can't come and visit? Who should be? What time? You're like, have I even eaten yet? Haven't had any sleep. Like, there's all these other things that are going through your head, and now you have another choice. But with that being said, when someone is passing away in a hospital or they're declared brain dead, the family is just looking for control. They're just trying to regain control. And, the family series is about to be released here soon. And I've had lots of interviews. Now, I've talked to hundreds, if not thousands of families about organ donation. But this is the first time on this video or this series that I've had the opportunity to talk to them in this candid of a nature on the other side of it now. And every single family that I've talked to so far, they say the same thing. And when I say the words, you were just looking for control, you were just looking for, something, like, you weren't mad at the process. You were mad because the decision was pulled from your hands. Now, not the decision of organ donation, but the decision of time, the decisions about organs, certain things that they were looking for control. Now, fast forwarding with those certain family members, they say, okay, well, looking at it now, hindsight being 2020, I'm glad that I didn't have to make those decisions. But in that moment, I just wanted to I didn't have a control over the accident, what hospital they went to, the care, the operating room, brain death procedure. I didn't have control over any of it. So, and then on top of that, you have all the scariness of all the, beeps and things in the room. And it's like, is this it? Is this the moment?
Right. So true.
It's a lot for the families. But I think in that, what I'm trying to say is you have this sense where you're trying to facilitate a family and get them through the understanding that we already gained the yes, or they were registered, one or the other. But having to navigate the waters of now asking for a gift of time is probably one of the most difficult things that you can really do, because they already have their mindset on this horrible nightmare is coming to a close on this date at this time. And now we're moving the goalpost.
Yeah. And that goes along with what I feel on another portion of time is a lot of time, and this was going to the question that I had with you. So, but yes, two parts. Definitely asking for the gift of time is heavy. It's heavy because now you have already seen this family. You've built up a relationship with this family because you've been there for at least 2-3 days usually. And the hospital's been there. So you've seen them come back and forth. Sometimes they're from out of town, and they need to get back. So it's definitely a heavy thing. And sometimes it's more than just you. And that's when you have to call on those external resources. Sometimes bringing in another colleague, someone who can verbalize it better than you can. You know, we won't put it all on your coordinator at the bedside because sometimes they can't have that particular conversation. They're not equipped to say what needs to be said in the way that it needs to be said, so that it doesn't come off harsh. You know, you want it to come off gentle. Some clinicians are just that. They're just clinicians. They're not your family coordinators who can't have those genuine conversations because they're just rough around the edges.
Mhm.
So but with that difficult conversation, I believe it should always be had with someone who have a rapport and a relationship with the person, or someone who understands the gentle need that is there. A caring hand sometimes is a lot better. But the question that I have for you on what you think is, a lot of times in donation, we come and families say it's just at the wrong time because they have now made their decision to want to withdraw life support. Or they were able to walk away because, they've been told by the hospital that the person is brain dead. And then we be like, okay, we're finally done. Tuesday, we're done. And then someone comes and they're like, hey, I need another 72 hours. How do we as coordinators, we as advocates for the family, advocates for donation, how do we navigate those waters? What do you think how do we solve that problem? Is it too late? Should we talk earlier? Could we talk earlier? Like, what do you think?
It's a double-edged sword. So here's my take on this. So if you approach a family, and this is my personal philosophy, it used to be the OPO's philosophy for OPOs that I've worked for, but the attaching yourself to a patient or to a donor early on, and now it's early, what do they call it, early engagement with the families.
Mm-hmm.
I don't ever want, my own personal view, I don't want a family to ever look at me in an early engagement and already be torn between long-term care, trach and peg, being placed in a skilled nursing facility because that's truly an option on their table, regardless of my views on what that is. That's an option for them, and that's okay. Versus withdrawal of life-sustaining measures and going back and forth. And I never want to be the weight that is casted into one of those buckets to sway them. I don't want to be the dissuader. I don't want to be tossed into a bucket where somebody goes, we're really thinking about trach and peg. We're leaning that way because we think that's, and I go, well, how about donation? And they go, yeah, let's do that. I'd rather withdraw life support and do organ donation. Like, I want them to come to a determination of what their loved one may have wanted and say, what, they would not have wanted to live this way, and we would want to withdraw life support. That's the bucket we're leaning towards. That's the area we're leaning towards. And then tell them, before we withdraw life support, this is an option for donation. But the other train of thought on that is, by the time they've come to that realization, we're pretty far down the road. We're pretty far down that well of care. And when you're that far and you've already started this train and they've built up the courage to finally get there and say, we are ready to pull the life-sustaining measures and allow our loved one to pass in a dignified manner, and then we come in and go, we need 72 more hours. It's like being ready to skydive and you're on the edge and you're ready to jump, and then somebody goes, just kidding, close the door. We're gonna wait. We're gonna come back 3 more days from now, and then we're gonna try this again. You just built up the courage to make this happen, and now somebody comes in and changes your plan. And I can 100% see where somebody comes back and says, it's just not the right time. Here's my response to that. When I talk to a family and a family says it's just not the right time, the question really is, if we had the opportunity to speak to your loved one now, and he could sit up or she could sit up and have an active role in this conversation, what would they say? Not what would you say? What would they say? What speaks to the fabric of who they are? Because if what they would do right now, and if to the fabric of what they are, they would say, no, please take this tube out of me. If that's what they would have wanted, pull the tube. Do what's going to be right for you and for your family. Because ultimately, that's what makes sense to me, is what's going to happen. Organ donation is a secondary objective when it comes to compassionate withdrawal life support. I've said that before. What's most important for me is that the family has a dignified end-of-life process. And if organ donation is what was in this person's fabric and that's what they want to be their legacy when they close out, I'm here to support it. I'm here to do it.
Let's make donation happen. I'm with that.
But if what they tell me is, they were not a giving person, they would have never wanted to be like this for any prolonged period for any reason at all, because what reigns supreme, what would have reigned supreme in their head would have been to not be in this hospital bed because they hated hospitals and they never were here. They never had anything to do with it. And we just want that tube out because we're trying to honor that. Pull the tube. If that's what you want to do, if that's what you're trying to stand behind, and that's what you knew them to be at the fabric and the core of what they were, I'm not here to convince you or to talk you into donation. I'm here to show you what that path is and what it can mean for your family, and tell you that it's a legacy. It's a very rare legacy that could possibly happen, and you can change lives, change them forever. And that's the legacy that's left behind. And if that's what they were at their core, then let's make donation happen.
Man, well said, man. Well said. That right there, man. The conversation of donation still to this day is a heartfelt conversation. I don't get to have the authorization conversation as often because of the role of a clinician, but I definitely appreciate the time that I do get to be in there with the families. And so that's why the speaking engagements that we host with Badgers Healthcare is one of the greatest things. And being able to, one of the things of telling them about the honor walk, anytime I talk about an honor walk with a family, a potential family, or just a community, I always reference and let them see. I was like, if anyone you want to come up here, you'll see the hair on my arm stand up right now because it provides chill bumps. The hair stands up. I was like, because it's such a way to give respect and honor to your family members. And it's like that final walk and seeing the whole hospital and all the, I've had motorcycle organizations, come out. You've had the military come out. You've had so many different people that will come out and support. And just letting them know that donation is one of the greatest things that you can do, one of the greatest gifts that can be done. And one of the best moments I've seen multiple times is for a person who've had a very carefree life. We'll use that term, with extracurricular activities. And the family allowed them to be an organ donor. And they's like, man, this is the best thing that he's ever done or she's ever done. Like this changes the story. It changes from such and such, the whatever title you give them. You know what I mean? Yeah, they were found in this bad situation, but look how many lives they saved. And that I've seen families light up. I've seen their children light up. I've seen grandkids. Like it's an amazing thing. You know what I mean? As I said, I'm pro family, I'm pro donation, and I understand what both of them holds. And so many lives have been saved for organ donation, and so many lives will be saved with organ donation.
Yeah. Before we get to your book, because I do want to ask you about your book, I want to tap onto that because this podcast is obviously in honor of the honor walk, right? So it's basically, that's my homage to it because it's so powerful. An honor walk is so powerful. And that's why it's honor talk, obviously. But that honor walk is so powerful and transformative for a family to give them. Basically, it's almost like walking them. It's like walking their loved one towards that glory or that legacy. If there was ever a physical way to do it, that's it.
Yes,
to be able to give them that opportunity to have the goodbye that they were hoping for. And not everybody's afforded that. Some people just get the phone call and that's it. It's a funeral. And this family or these family are going to be able to be walked through and honored by not only the hospital staff, their family, their loved ones or cared ones. I have just a quick story I'll never forget this. I had in donation, they have what's called a directed donation. So it's the one time that a family member or a loved one that is passing away, the family has the opportunity to say, listen, we want to try and affect somebody in our community directly. And they're afforded the opportunity to say, I have an uncle, an aunt, a member of our congregation, whatever the case may be. And we want to give them the gift of a liver if it's possible. If they're compatible, can we do that? And so we will reach out to them directly. And it's the one time that we have the opportunity to try and directly donate an organ from a loved one to someone else. Okay. And in this instance, it was a young man who was a trauma via a motorcycle accident. And the family said, we have a loved one. And it was like a cousin of a cousin on the other side of the family. And they wanted to do a direct donation of a heart. And I thought, okay, it's pretty rare that this is actually going to work out, but hey, let's try it. And they said, well, it's not just heart. He has a heart issue, but it's also a kidney. So he needs a heart and a kidney. I was like, boy, directed donation, what multiviscerals, what they call it, like multiple organ, like, wow, that's okay. Let's try this. So I reached out, I contacted the surgeon directly, let them know that we had a directed donation. And here I'm thinking in my head, I was pretty early on in my career. In my head, I'm thinking pretty pessimistically, like, this is not going to happen. To get one organ directly donated is pretty rare. The surgeon called me back. I don't even think I had hung with the phone fully. My phone rings and he says, hey, this is so-and-so. Is this offer real? And I said, yeah, it's real. He said, give me a few minutes. I'm going to do a virtual cross match and I think it might work. Okay. So they did the cross match. They made sure compatibility, 100% compatible.
Man.
Well, here's the kicker. They wanted to do an honor walk. This person was on an LVAD machine. And he said, the cousin wants to come before the honor walk. He wants to say thank you. There wasn't a dry eye, I don't think, in that entire hospital. He walked in with his LVAD nurse. He came through. He laid in the bed with the donor. He said, thank you. on I don't know how many levels. I was a ball of mess. I mean, I was crying. The nurses were crying. They had hospital administration. Everybody was just a ball.
Man, I have chills on my arm and I'm getting a frog in my throat.
He
Oh my gosh.
left as we were getting ready to do the honor walk because he had to get to the hospital to get prepped for surgery. He was the first one out the doors of the honor walk. So he was able to leave as the honor walk was getting ready to get started. And he left the LVAD nurse. And to this day, that's probably one of the most powerful and strongest honor walks I've ever seen in my life.
Saved through a directed donation like that is so rare. So many times we have people that put a name down and the person's not listed. Or you put a name down and they're not compatible. Or you put a name down and you don't have the rest of the information. So to have all the information, to be able to check all those boxes and to be able to come and say thank you while that person is still in the hospital, like that's another level. That's a rarity. There's
Yeah.
something that goes back to what you said, bringing it all full circle. The switchboard, that's the power. That's the power of the family being that power button, like providing and empowering the family to let them know it comes with a lot of choices. It comes with a lot of choices. Like we are here with you to make donation happen. We're not here trying to take it from you. Nobody's trying to steal no organs. If you have a list of 15 names, let's run them through.
Yeah, let's do
Let's
it.
run the names through and see where we can get these gifts going to help save people that's in your community, people that you have cherished a relationship with, that you could potentially keep the relationship going. Because the bad part is already here. We're navigating those waters so we can keep it from happening twice.
Yep. No, 100%. I want to get into your book. I want to know what drove you to put pen to paper. I mean, I think I already have an idea, but I'm sure there's definitely a story behind this because the
This
book's
little
good.
book right here,
That's the one.
this
That's the
little
one.
book right here, man.
One.
It's that book. That book came from my grandmother, my mom, misinformation, the fact that no one knew so many times when you talk to them about donation, like the DMV. There's a portion that talks about that, and it's like, oh well, you can check the box at the DMV, absolutely. But if you want to itemize it, in the roughest way possible, like a checkbox restaurant thing, you can go through. You can say, I want to do eyes, tissue, no long guns. You can say that. Or you can say, I want the gusto. You can have it all. Because I talk to so many people who say, I can't do nothing with it. So why don't you guys just take it all? You can have it. There's people who've personally told me in the OR, Terrence, I haven't registered, but I'm going to go ahead and do it after we finish this. And I reach in my bag and I say, here you go. Take that with you. And when you go home and you preparing to register, you can look and have a kind of a guide on things that you can look for. And there's a couple myth busters in there too. The part of, I can't have an open casket. You can. Well, what do they do with the bones? They take the bones out, the arm. Well, we put prosthetics in there. You close it up, you sew it back up. And you put the shirt on and you don't even know. You put the dress on, or you know what I mean, the top on, whatever it means. So what drove me to write that was just providing the information that appeared not to be in the communities and the spaces that I was going to. So it's like, how can I get them the information? How can I get it to the masses? Because of course I can't be everywhere, but if I can write a book, I can post it, I can inform someone. This book is not really for the transplant coordinator, because we know this already. This is for the community. This is for the nurses. I've been on units and nurses are like, hey, what's that right there in your bag? I was like, oh, this little book? That little book? And then, you show them the book and they're like, you wrote this? It's like, I did. And someone was like, I didn't even know. It was like, I'm from Louisiana and we eat that. And I was like, a lot of people do. Hence why a lot of people need kidneys.
You don't got to be from Louisiana to eat bad.
That part, because there's tacos everywhere.
That's right. You're making me hungry already. No,
Man.
I mean, I read the book. It definitely speaks to you. It's a good guide when it comes to trying to understand concepts that are really concepts that we never talk about, things that are never brought up around the dinner table. I saw the misnomers in there, like the Mythbusters. I think I started thinking like this book, it has a lot of areas where you can give it to somebody to be informative, but not overwhelming. And that's what I like, that it was
the biggest part. That was the biggest part.
Yes. It can be transplantation and organ donation can be really overwhelming because this is the meat potatoes. So if you know somebody who's out there who is maybe they're elderly, maybe this question was posed about donation, there are people out there that are navigating end of life, as they walk this earth. This is a book that is good and informative for somebody who is trying to understand what it is when it comes to organ donation and transplantation, because maybe they're at that point in their life where they need to start thinking about these things. But I will tell you this, there's no point really in your life where you have to start thinking about this, because these conversations should be had much sooner. Don't put your family in a position where they don't know your wishes. As uncomfortable as it is to have these conversations, as a society, we need to start getting comfortable with being uncomfortable as a society, period. Because I think that we regress when it comes to conversations such as this, and we say, well, I don't want to be uncomfortable, so I'm not going to have that conversation. All you did was kick the can down the road, and you made it that much harder for your family to make the decision. Don't do that. Pick up Terrence's book, give it a read. I'll promise you this. You buy the book, take it home, you read it, you look at it. I guarantee you, after you're done with this book, you will think of somebody that can benefit from this book. You will find somebody in your life that you'll say, you know what? I think this person will benefit from this. Because I looked at the book, I read the book cover to cover, and I thought, obviously I'm in this world. Who could benefit from this book? And off the top of my head, I thought of at least 5 to 7 people. I thought, okay, this person could benefit from this. So I do thank you for coming out. I do thank you for being on the podcast today. You did an amazing job with this book. Where can people find your book? And if people want Badger's healthcare service, how can they go about that?
Absolutely. So the book can be found on Amazon. It's a 38-page quick
Let's
read.
see that bad boy. Let's see it. Bring it up so people know what they're looking for.
And right there.
Bam.
Got your lung here. Let me put lung, got a kidney on this side, a couple other organs, your trachea's in here. So that's where you can find it. Amazon .com. It's called What's Behind the Yes to Donation. Like I said, it's a quick read, 38 pages. Didn't want to get too deep in it. Didn't want people to get lost in it. And where you can find Badger's Healthcare, we don't have any social media handles, but you can go to the website, badgershealthcare.com. And from there, you can choose what services you may want. We are doing ACLS, ELS, PALS classes. We're doing public speaking events. We're at your colleges. We're doing anything everywhere that we can go to be able to just provide the information. And that's all it is. We're just combating all the misinformation. Definitely, like I said, as this gentleman has said it, well spoken. I appreciate all the kind words, man. But Amazon.com, What's Behind the Yes to Donation? Quick read. And I appreciate the opportunity, man. When I found out that you had a podcast, I was like, let's do it.
Yeah.
Soon as I was like, let's do it. I was like, because the first time I literally talked to my wife about the first time I met you. I was like, man, the first time I met him, I went to his region to go work, and you were genuine, man. You literally called me and was like, hey, I know you're in my region. Where are you? I can pick you up and, bring you back, because I had arrived the first day. So you called me that morning. He's like, I can come pick you up from your hotel, and bring you to the hospital. And I was like, I'm good. He was like, you're good? How are you good? And I was like, hey, man, I got me a rental car. He was like, a rental car? It was like, most people don't do that. It was like, man, most people, they don't look like me, man. I can't be getting in the car with any and everybody. I gotta have me some transportation. Gotta have some wheels, man. So that genuineness, on that very first time out, I was sold. I was sold then, and so when I saw you had a podcast, it was a yes for me. And as soon as I saw it, man, so I thank you, man. You're doing great work. You're doing
Thank you.
great. I'm looking. I will definitely be passing this information on, man, to everybody,
Yep.
man. 'Cause
Yep.
it's good work.
Broadcast it far and wide. So get Terrence's book, What's Behind the Yes. Thank you so much, Terrence. I appreciate you so much. We're going to put all of your information in the show notes down below, and I will talk to you soon. Thank you so much again.
Absolutely, man. Take care. Be blessed.
Thank you for joining me today on Honor Talk. I'm truly grateful you took the time to listen and honor the incredible stories that remind us of how one life can impact so many others. Before you go, be sure to check out the show notes for links, photos, resources, and additional information related to today's episode. If today's conversation inspired you, please consider signing up to be a registered organ, eye, and tissue donor. You can learn more and register at registerme.org, because saying yes today could give someone a tomorrow. And if you're a medical professional, a donor family, or even a recipient with a story to share, I'd love to hear from you. Your experiences bring hope, education, and understanding to so many others. Visit us at honortalkpodcast.com or connect with me on Facebook, Instagram, or even by email if you'd like to come on the show and honor your loved one's legacy or even share your journey. I'm Bobby Gomez, and this is Honor Talk, where we honor those who gave, celebrate those who received, and stand strong with those still waiting. Thanks.